All right, we're live. So I'm going to try to attempt to do what SpaceX did, which is catch Starship. I have to tell you, even with these like chopsticks that I'm using, this is kind of hard. I mean, I don't know how they took a 250-pound spaceship and caught it. I mean, this is yeah, this is a cigarette. I mean, well, it's a lighter that I bought from SpaceX, and you light it from underneath. But yeah, actually made by SpaceX. But wow, what a wild weekend, folks! I mean, I was not so far away in Austin, Texas, and I was with a friend, and I was like, oh man, if we didn't have plans, I really wanted to drive out. I mean, I doubt we would have made it in time because we probably would have needed to leave at probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to see the catch. But wow, I mean, how incredible was that? I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, check that out. All right, that is a 250-pound rocket being caught like this using essentially, yeah, I mean, like chopsticks that just went like this and it landed. What a wild time we live in. What an incredible time to be alive. Extraordinary, incredible things going on. And I had a sense that, yeah, this weekend, this time, things are going to start happening, and they are. Things are popping. Bitcoin's starting to just, do the thing that it's done right before like the big gains really come. So many of our stocks are starting to hit 52-week highs. It's all starting to happen. It's been, 3.5 years since about March of 2021 when you could tell the same thing, but it's all starting to happen now. So this live stream, I want to talk about Bitcoin, crypto related things, because this is, at least for the next 12, 14 months, when we look back, I think people will be like, yeah, I should have been in crypto. I should have been paying attention to crypto. I mean, what does everyone wish after the prices are high? I wish I bought more. Or, if you held on, yeah, you'll wish, you'll be happy for everything that you have. So let's talk about what's happening in crypto, what's happening with Bitcoin today. Crazy volatility. I've been on X posting about it, and I'll go through some of those posts in this video, because volatility in this period is a positive sign. I mean, it's an indication of that supply shock finally beginning to really hit. And it comes from when, now, like even when short-term speculators are entering the market, there's not enough supply. They're being bidding it up. And then, of course, like it jumps. And then, of course, they herd in and out. It's all happening. And we're going to cover it in this live stream. All right. Quickly, all the legal stuff, which is that this live stream and the content from ATG Digital is not investment or financial advice. I'm getting comfortable here. It is presented to you as opinion, information, engagement, and entertainment. All ATG Digital content may contain errors, oversights, mistakes. Understand that investment operations, which are what? Buying, selling crypto, stock, options, have significant risk and lead to loss of your principal, which means losing money. I, the owners, employees, contractors of ATG Digital, trade, transact, and securities mentioned in this video, and all the content from ATG Digital, that includes all of our portfolios, all of our trades, all of our updates, all the everything. We do not take money from companies to promote their stocks, or from crypto sponsors, creators to recommend their crypto tokens. So for better and for worse, for gain and for loss, whatever you're getting is our independent view of the world. Rapidly, this is the free Substack where I wrote about Bitcoin yesterday. Maybe some of you read it. Ballman speculating, didn't do one in September, but I have good intentions, but I rarely get to it. YouTube, well, I'm on that now. X, I'm very active on X. I recommend you follow me if you want like instant reaction. Like, so when I see the Bitcoin volatility and I have something to like say, Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest, most immediate way to get to it. Dean is on Facebook pretty regularly, especially now that things are pumping. I know he'll be on. Subscriptions at atgdigital.media would start at $9.99 per month for the silver tier. And then from there, it's up. Okay. Let me go to my X profile and run through some of the things that I wrote in this, because that will give me a sort of like a background for what I'm saying. Let me make some of these posts a bit bigger. Okay. Post number one, crypto upcycle will be as volatile and as roller coastery as the down cycle was. Strap in for the ride. Yeah, you saw that today. I mean, what do we see today? I mean, Bitcoin hit nearly 68,000 and then almost like, I think it was within like a minute, maybe 3 minutes, it was back to under 65. So what is that? Like 69 to 65. 65 divided by 69. So that's like almost 6% in the space of a couple of minutes. And when I saw that, I was like, that's the supply shock underway. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to see it. That kind of crazy inter-day, almost like inter-candle volatility, that's a sign that when people come in, they're being forced to bid up. And then like the price surge is clearly taking people by surprise. And then, they all herd in and out. So in the next post, you'll see here, make these posts a bit bigger so I can read them. Nobody ever complains that these are not big enough. So I assume everybody can see quite easily. So why so much Bitcoin volatility? Because high demand and low supply. Low supply is driven by the fact that the new Bitcoin that is coming into the market has been halved since April 19th. Why did it take so long for the supply shock to register? Essentially, well, once Bitcoin got back to somewhere near its old high of 65 to 70, well, that drew in and has historically drawn in people that miss the old high and they come in, and that supply lasts for a while. Then obviously miners whose revenues have been cut in half post the halving, they have to sell some amount of Bitcoin. So this period, like it's there in every cycle, seems to last 6 months more or less. And then at some point, like all of that is kind of like taken into account, washed through the market. Now, as people buy, there are these crazy futures that you can trade in. 100x, Bitcoin futures are available in the crypto market. So people are using these all the time to go in and out. Now, and people go in and they go in with leverage. They're causing this price shock, which then causes them to herd in and out. I mean, like my best guess is that as the price this morning went from 65 to 66, and at 67, everybody's like, I'm in. And then, of course, the moment end and boom. And we're going to see this more and more again because it's the price surge that is bringing in that short-term speculative demand with leverage. And then, the moment people sense that, it's peaking out, or the folks who are in early start to sell. Well, the same folks that rushed in all look to rush for the exits. And so, today is a great example of what we are going to see, except with an upward trend. So, let's see. October 19th is 6 months since the halving. And past cycle show this is when the supply shock begins to register in the market. Because many people are probably new to Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of people that are new to Bitcoin. Uh, the Bitcoin ETFs have come about. There's a ton of people who now own MicroStrategy. What else is new in this cycle? I think those are the two biggest things. So I wrote this post, which is that for long-term Bitcoin hodlers, and remember, I mean, I think ATG Digital folks, who were with me at Banyan Hill and stuck around, we've been in this now for 4 years. Our costs, if you bought in when I originally put it into the portfolio at Banyan Hill, it was about 10,000. So we're up about 6x or so. But I mean, we've experienced a lot. We went from like 65 and 65, 69 in 2021 to the low of 15. And there's been, a move back all the way to 73, another move back all the way down to 49. I mean, if you're a hodler, and I am a hodler, this volatility, it is what it is. But if you're new to it, I mean, you might look at this, it's like, oh my God, I want out, I want in. I didn't tell you. This volatility is going to crush people that want to go in and out. You will almost certainly get out at the low and end up getting back in at the high and end up repeating that again. Couple of posts on what I have been saying for the last month or so, which is that my study and research of past patterns suggests that Bitcoin gets to $100,000 by year end. That is that supply shock coming into play. Now, I mean, I do want to say, like, when I say 100,000, I don't mean it'll stay trading at 100,000 every single day, every single second. It is going to be volatile. It is going. You can bet that 100, people will surge in, and then a bunch of people will surge out. It is going to be crazy volatile. It is going to be crazy volatile. That is normal, as I put there, which is like I put that post there, which is that this volatility is absolutely, completely, utterly normal. In fact, it is a feature of the supply shock to see this crazy, crazy volatile behavior. And then I have laid out what many people say that I'm crazy to think, which is that the past halving cycles point to a Bitcoin price peak of about $1 million in late 2025. Based on past cycles, it's something in the range of, I forget, like 500-ish days and that. So we're talking late November, early December, somewhere in that time frame of something like 1 million. And then sometime in 2026 will come the crash, which is also equally inevitable. That's out there. In the process of sort of like prepping for this live stream, I saw this post from this guy. I mean, he has quite a following. So I thought this is interesting that searches for meme coins are through the roof. Meanwhile, search interest, and we're talking about, you can go onto Google Trends and put in the word Bitcoin, and you can see, are people searching for Bitcoin or not? Searches for Bitcoin are, people are apathetic. People don't kind of care. And my view of this is that this is a contrarian signal. And it tells me that people are out there chasing meme coins because they're tired. Yeah, it's been 3 years since people have gotten sort of like satisfaction, which is what? Well, I mean, people want price action. People want to see, gains. And we really haven't seen that Bitcoin. So they've given up and, they've gone to stuff that's more volatile, more speculative, more short term. And I think that's going to turn out to be an incredible mistake. From having been in markets, I mean, usually the most impatient traders tend to generally go into the riskiest things at the worst time. And whatever they left is where they probably should have stayed. So last thing I'll mention, why focus so much on past halvings, past behavior, past halvings. I mean, I've spent a lot of time. I mean, I could write a book at this point. Now, I mean, one person, I think in the last live stream said, well, Paul, there's only been 1, 2, 3, 4 halvings, 2012, 16, 2020. Well, yeah, but that's all we got, right? I mean, I think I told the person, like, look, if I could go 100 years into the future and come back and tell you for a fact everything that's going to happen, well, I'd like to do that, but I don't have time travel available to me. So I got to take what I got that's in front of me and use my brain power and use all of my understanding that I've gained over time from being in markets and sort of apply it. And one thing that is so uniquely different about Bitcoin that draws me back to, like, just it to coming back to it is because we do not have any other asset that is globally recognized, globally being accumulated, globally being seen as a store of value that runs on a mathematical algorithm. There is no person you can appeal to that says, oh, can you release some more? We have a shortage, or we have a scarcity, or look, there's this problem here and we need more Bitcoin issued. There's nobody. The mathematical algorithm, for better and for worse, is unforgiving. I mean, I'm sure that if there were a human authority that was running Bitcoin, I can tell you what would have happened in 2021 as FTX went bankrupt, and Voyager went bankrupt, and Celsius went bankrupt, and all this stuff happened. Well, I mean, they would act something like the Federal Reserve. They would loosen up the the liquidity, push a bunch out, try and sort of like facilitate easing, kind of like what the Federal Reserve did in 2008, 2009. We'd have quantitative easing, but under Bitcoin, there's no quantitative easing. I mean, the 21 million coin stays 21 million, come hell or high water. The new supply gets cut in half. I mean, half is a lot. I mean, we're down to, for when you complete a Bitcoin block, now you get 3.25 Bitcoin. It used to be 6.5. So it's just being mercilessly being cut. And so everything is so fixed. It's precise. It's finite. And my study of financial markets says that when you have something that is this precise, this fixed, this mathematical, the patterns repeat. And it has certainly repeated in the past 3 halving cycles. I mean, at the 6-month mark, past the 6-month mark, Bitcoin is at, near, around its all-time high. That's true in every single halving cycle, including in this one. Like, I mean, there was a high earlier this year at 73, but the immediate, the 2021 high was something like 69, and we are, pretty much right there, and we still have, another 4 days before we get the 6-month mark. So my best guess is that, the 2024 halving cycle is not going to be some giant anomaly. It will have some broad pattern that is similar to what we have experienced before. For my money, and in my opinion, we'll see something closer to the upside that we saw in the 2016 halving. That's obviously a speculative call on my part. There's a judgment call on my part. And if you go back and look, in the 2016 halving cycle, July 11th, 2016 was halving date. And you can see for most of 2016, Bitcoin sort of like fluttering around. And the previous high, by the way, was all the way back in 2013, I believe, at like 1,100. So the low post the 2012 halving it goes from 1,130 approximately all the way back to 130. And then it starts out in January of 2016, it's somewhere near 130, right? Starts to travel up. By December or so, it's pretty close to 1,000. In January, it makes the first new all-time high of about, I think it was 1,300, might be 1,200. I didn't look it up specifically, but somewhere in that range. And then incredible volatility, incredible. February, March, it hits a new high and then sellers come in and smash it back down. Hits another high, sellers come in, smash that down. I think it's 3 months of sort of like in the 1,000s. And then it gets to 2,400, I think in April, and then it jumps by double the next month. It goes to essentially 5,000. And then we sort of like hover for a month, and then it jumps again, essentially by like 50%. There's about 7,500, 8,000. Then it goes to like 10,000. And then in December, it goes double. So if you want to know, like, well, hey, Paul, how is this even thinkable, let alone possible, that Bitcoin can go from its, fairly, let's see, well, what's it at right now? Almost 67,000. How can it possibly go from 66,868 to a million in about 1 year? Well, hey, listen, in 2016, 2017, yeah, we did the same thing, right? We went from essentially, went from $100 at the beginning of 2016 to nearly 20,000 by the end of 2017. And the reason for that is this mixture of the fact that we have never really had any asset where the supply gets cut by half. We have never had a asset that people cared about. Now, there are assets that people don't give a crap about. Some people say, well, Paul, what about Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash? They have the same mathematical properties. Yeah, but the world isn't accumulating these crypto tokens. Nobody cares. They were all copies of Bitcoin to begin with, and everyone understands that. So nobody is going to plunk down $62 billion for Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. These are all just clones and copies. But we've never had an asset that is in global demand, that is seen as a store of value around the world, like everywhere. Like I traveled last year to Asia, and I just made it always a point to ask, like, people's like, do you know Bitcoin? Everybody knows Bitcoin. Everybody knows Bitcoin. It is as universally known as gold. So yeah, it's completely possible, even though right now it's unthinkable. But the truth is that I could not have imagined in 2017 that Bitcoin prices could be 10,000, let alone 20,000. I thought it was preposterous. I thought it was ridiculous. But it was at that point, we'd only had one halving cycle. Bitcoin had only come to the world starting 2009. So we'd had 7 years, and now we've had 15 years. We've had a couple more halving cycles. We have a lot more data to work with. I'd love to have more, but it's in the nature of big gains is that you got to make the bet before you have all the answers. If you want certainty, if you want a guarantee, if you want perfection. Yeah, well, I wrote this in my Substack yesterday. Like, the way we invest at ATG Digital is not on B for you, because we're chasing after big gains. We're chasing after something that can hit big, and if it hits, we want to be there and we want to get the benefit of these big gains. Everything that I'm seeing says this is going to happen. And obviously, I own Bitcoin at ATG Digital Portfolios. We own Bitcoin. We also own MicroStrategy in the gold tier, we're up 1,000% there. That is one of the newer ways to express the Bitcoin bet. We obviously also own altcoins. The altcoin that everyone knows, of course, is Ethereum. But there are, essentially anything that is not Bitcoin is called an altcoin. I think most people probably have given up on Ethereum, no different than they've given up on Bitcoin, and they're chasing meme coins, which tells me that Ethereum is likely to have, a big run as well. And the general cadence by which movements happen in the crypto market is that Bitcoin is the apex coin, and that goes first. And as it gets to higher and higher levels, money bleeds out from some of it and starts to go into the altcoin space. In every tier at ATG Digital, at the silver, at the gold, at the diamond tier, we have crypto. At the diamond tier, it's micro cap crypto. At the gold tier, it's a little bit more established, mid-sized. So we are prepped. I mean, we are locked, loaded, ready. We have prepared. We have planned. We are ready for this. So we've got, in the silver tier, we've got bigger. We've got obviously Bitcoin. We have Ethereum. We have Avalanche. We have XRP. We have Dogecoin. I think that's it. I think that's most of it. Then I won't go into everything that's in gold here, but we're ready. And then there is also a parallel universe of stocks, right, that benefit from crypto, right? MicroStrategy, obviously. I mean, I've made, I think, 1 or 2 videos on MicroStrategy. So you can go back through the channel and watch it. MicroStrategy stock, I think, is up 200% in the last couple of months. It's down today, but that's very much in the nature of people anticipate stuff and they bid things ahead. And then, when you kind of come in excitement, think like, why isn't it up? Well, I mean, this is the nature of the market. It looks forward, anticipates. It's a psychological phenomenon of how human beings operate in markets. So, I mean, that's there. Then there's Coinbase, which is pretty much the only publicly traded exchange that I can think of. There's obviously private exchanges, Binance, Kraken, others, but publicly traded, one, right? Coinbase. They obviously benefit from a crypto cycle. They obviously benefit from Bitcoin rising. How? Why? Well, I mean, Bitcoin is the headline maker. As Bitcoin starts to rise, more and more people get attracted into crypto. The vast majority of people are short-term speculators, short-term traders. That is a manna from heaven for Coinbase because they don't make money when Bitcoin goes up necessarily. I mean, they might own some small amount of Bitcoin, but I mean, I hold my Bitcoin at Coinbase. They don't charge me anything for holding it there. So they don't really make money by you just buying and holding. They make their money when people go crazy buying and selling. And, imagine today, imagine the amount of trading that has gone on in Bitcoin as it surged from 65 to 68, 68 to 64. I mean, people are in, people are out, people are, and they have futures trading. And then of course, that volatility sort of like has a domino effect through the crypto world, right? I mean, every single coin is going crazy as a result. Well, that is all cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Huge money just piling into Coinbase, So Coinbase thus far has not really, it's nowhere. It recovered from its low. I mean, it's crazy to think that Coinbase at the peak, which happened on its first day, its IPO day, was 430 and the low was 30. And now we're back to what, like about, something under 200. But I wrote in my Substack yesterday that Coinbase is going to get back to its old high, and then it's going to, go up from there. I laid out a price target of, I'll say, 1,000 sometime probably next year, early, maybe 2026. because the amount of trading in this cycle is going to make the last peak look like, yeah, I mean, it is going to be orders of magnitude greater. If I were to guess, it's going to be 20, 30 times. I mean, there are so many more coins. There are so many more people involved in crypto trading, and the amount of money, obviously, as Bitcoin now is a 1.2, $1.3 trillion asset, people can take small amounts of Bitcoin and then go chase after all other stuff that's out there. Yeah, I mean, the trading is just going to be unbelievable. And as that unfolds, you will see people come and bid Coinbase stock up. And it's going to rocket way higher. I mean, like I said, if you want, for many people who say, I don't want to own Bitcoin, I don't want to own crypto, but I want some way to benefit from this, they're like, well, MicroStrategy is too crazy for me. What are they going to buy? They're going to buy Coinbase. So the multiple on their revenue in the next cycle is going to be some crazy, crazy number. Crazy number. So that's obviously one place. I've mentioned Robinhood is still remarkably. I mean, I don't know what these old school legacy brokers are thinking. They clearly don't want younger customers, because I read a stat that said that 40% of Gen Z own crypto. In fact, the vast majority of them entered investing through crypto. Yeah, they're not going to go to some place that doesn't offer them the ability to buy and sell crypto. That's crazy. But Robinhood, they were quite early on the crypto trend. There's people on Robinhood that bought into Bitcoin and Doge very early. They got money, and they will trade. They will trade. So they will get similar sort of like benefit as Coinbase, which is as people trade. The most profitable segment for Robinhood is crypto. So the volumes are going to go up. And remember, with both Robinhood, with Coinbase, the nature of their business is this. Essentially, while we're focused on all the coins, essentially, these are very large computers, which are more or less a fixed cost. And so the critical factor for their business is volume, because as volume comes in, they earn fees, right? I mean, bid-ask spreads, various fees, margin, all these things. I mean, so as the volume goes in, I mean, it is just like a cash register that's just going. So, I mean, these two are going to see an extraordinary amount of volume. And so it's no surprise that like Coinbase is starting to get bid up. Robinhood is starting to get bid up. Um, and with that, then, we'll also see more interest in sort of fintechs that have put crypto and or Bitcoin into their business model. Block is one. I mean, they're very, they have Cash App, which is probably one of the places that owns probably the largest amount of Bitcoin. I have not looked recently, but I hold some of my Bitcoin at Cash App. Their interface is very good. They cater to sort of like a demographic that is sort of like using Bitcoin as a savings vehicle. So you can bet that as Bitcoin rises and these folks start to have more money, the use of Cash App is just going to go crazy. And it will drive a level of utility and adoption there, which is going to surge their revenues higher. So Block, PayPal, these are all beneficiaries, sort of like secondary beneficiaries, if you will, of a crypto cycle. PayPal, as you know, has a stable coin, which I think already has nearly $1 billion in it. I mean, they just started like I think like 6-9 months ago. A stablecoin business is incredibly profitable, right? I mean, you take money in, and then the money sits there on your platform. You pay out interest. But like, I mean, there's enough of a spread between what you pay out and what you keep that the biggest stable coin in the world, which is called Tether, from what I read, makes more money than BlackRock. That seems insane to me. I mean, so this is a very, very, very lucrative business. PayPal has entered into it. I'm pretty sure that Block at some point will go into it. I know there's a private company that does the processing actually for our subscriptions at ATG Digital called Stripe. They have a stable coin. And Stripe, operates all around the world. And essentially it's a new form of, something that Warren Buffett worships, which is, something called float, which essentially people give you their money and then, you kind of keep it, and then you can earn interest or returns on that, during the time period when they've given it to you, but you have they don't access it. For Warren Buffett, it's through insurance. You pay your insurance premium, but you may never make a claim. So they obviously get your premium, but even more, you get to use that money to invest, etc., as long as you have the ability to pay the claim. And so same is true for all of these stable coins that are out there. So these are all companies and stocks that are going to benefit from this crypto upcycle that is happening now. Then finally, we have like a more direct place by which to invest in, which is crypto miners. Crypto miners are the ones that are creating the new supply of Bitcoin. They've got these big rooms filled with these small little rigs. I used to have one. I think I gave it away. But I used to do a little bit of crypto mining. I used to have one. But they have rooms full of these. I mean, just giant rooms full of these. And what they're doing is just processing transactions, whether it be for Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these tokens. They're all sit on the blockchain, and they require computing power to be available, so that even these meme coins, they all have to be on the blockchain so that you can see the transactions, so it can be verified, etc. But the crypto miners are very much a cyclical play relative to the Bitcoin halving cycle. There's just like Bitcoin has a mathematical pattern, the miners, because they're so affected. The most important coin that they mine is Bitcoin. And so when the halving comes, it absolutely affects their business. When the halving comes, it also drives like a reinvestment cycle where they have to upgrade their mining rigs, and because they're getting half as much as they used to. So there's a spending cycle, just as their revenues halved. So companies that are weak or new, they become even weaker. So what we have seen in this last cycle is that a lot of the weaker miners have either gone out of business, they've merged with stronger miners, or else they've had to issue equity or borrow money to somehow stay in business. So the miners are very levered plays. And I'm going to say that if I were to rate this, it's going to be a close call between MicroStrategy and the miners as to what will go up the most by the time this cycle ends, which will be probably I'm going to say Bitcoin will peak late next year, but the overall crypto cycle sort of like trails on for another 3 to 6 months. And that's because people take their gains from Bitcoin and they flood into, more exotic, less liquid, more speculative coins for several months after. But if I were to guess, when this cycle ends, it'll be a close call between miners and MicroStrategy as to what went up the most. What are examples of miners? Well, Marathon Digital is one of the biggest miners that's out there. There's CleanSpark. There is Riot. This industry has consolidated a lot. There used to be 20 or 30 miners. Most of them were microcap stocks. Today, we've got like multi-billion-dollar companies. Marathon Digital it's not a large company, but it's way larger than it used to be, in the last cycle. So, bottom line to what I, want to say in this live stream, which is that we're in the golden period. It's essentially 4 days away. October 19th is the 6-month anniversary. pretty much in every single halving cycle, somewhere around here is when Bitcoin reaches at near its old high. And then from there, in a very volatile way, like with crazy volatility, insane volatility, ridiculous volatility, it starts to move towards making new all-time highs. And with that, an entire array of obviously investments, everything from Bitcoin, various other coins, start to, get money, start to get bid up. Transaction-based businesses, Coinbase, Robinhood, they benefit. Related businesses, Block, PayPal, there's others, but those are the two big ones that come to mind. They benefit. The crypto miners, they benefit. So a good period is coming for us where we are, in my opinion, obviously, there are no guarantees, there's no certainty. In my opinion, setting up to make some big money. And I'm going to be very thrilled, very stoked for all of you as that unfolds in the second half of this year and later on next year. All right. To David, regular watcher, always asking you about MNKD. Yeah, I think you're far too impatient for what this stock is going to do. This is not going to deliver gains of 1,000% tomorrow. This is a company that has a clinical trial platform to slowly bring out news, to extend the use of Afrezza to different populations. Is going to be slow and then sudden. Watching it every day is probably going to frustrate you and probably going to make you want to sell. I think it will do very well over time, but it's not going to do well from week to week. And probably, I don't know, at least in my experience is that the more you tend to watch something, the less it tends to do. Having said that, they do have a major trial that is scheduled to release results somewhere in the fourth quarter, and that is Afrezza for pediatric use. I believe that in their presentation, they state that every 10% market share of the pediatric US market would be 150 million. Obviously, if those results are good, the news would carry the stock higher, but you're still going to have to wait. It's not going to be day to day. Anthony Perry, Mr. Like button smashed. Hey, folks, smash that like button. It does help with the algorithm, and also subscribe to the channel, please. Shelly says, can you please share your price prediction on PLTR? Well, I have to log in. And before I say anything, I just want you to understand something about, price predictions. These are no better than guesses, right? Prices aren't set by some committee that stares at the financials and says, hey, today, this is suddenly worth this. Prices are set by speculators buying and selling daily. So any price target, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean like some sort of like some guarantee, is going to happen. But let's look at Palantir. Since I know this is a stock of some interest to many people, and we own it in silver tier, and we have done well despite having bought during the last bull market and not necessarily having timed it very well. We have done well. So here's a 5-year chart. Here's the chart of you can see, the old peak was back there. So the way I compute price targets is I'll show you a little bit of like my process for how I tend to look at these things. So remember, Palantir is in my opinion one of the AI leaders, both for now and for the foreseeable future. So this is a classic case where I would say, where you would use rules of the game and you would sell on the way up some of your shares, because it is not going to be a straight line up. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, there are going to be in between years. It will not be a stock that performs every single year, but it is clearly, as you can see, in an up cycle. And generally speaking, stocks will follow earnings expectations, especially a big stock like this, which is, its market capitalization is $95 billion. And so this is the way I tend to, look at it. So that orange line is the price to sales ratio. In other words, as people get excited about a stock, they will start to bid the stock price higher and essentially pay more and more for either every dollar of sales or every dollar of earnings. Growth companies, the people who tend to buy growth companies focus on sales growth. And so you can see, like, yeah, in the last 1 year, the price to sales ratio for Palantir has jumped 125%. The stock is up 163%. And then, so, I mean, you can tell people are excited. They're bidding this up. And then let's look at the price to sales ratio. Well, it's 41. I can tell you 41 is a very high number. And you can see that, 31 was the old high. So then you balance that against, like, well, why are people willing to pay 41 times sales for Palantir? Well, in my view, opinion, judgment, here is really what is getting people excited. So, I mean, since they went public, they have a very consistent growth trend. Clearly, AI is a very early stage growth trend. So in all likelihood, these numbers are going to be higher. We're going to see probably numbers like 30, 35, maybe 40, maybe even 50 in the several years. And so people are willing to pay up for Palantir. 40 times sales is high, so they really have to come through with their earnings growth. And you can see, I mean, the 5-year growth rate is about 30%. So if they can hammer out 30% for 3 or 4 years, I mean, what will happen is that the price to sales ratio will probably go down a bit, but the sales will keep going up. You wanted if I were to guess, and this is a guess, and not investment or financial advice, this is the way I would do it. You can see professional investors, we look forward by 12 to 18 months here. I can see, look, the estimates for next year are 3 billion. So if that multiple were to stay consistent at 40 times, it suggests $120 billion worth of market cap, which is what? So 95 and 120 billion. Yeah, I'm not getting this right. So at least based on current estimates, says about 30% higher in the next, I'd say, 6 to 12 months. Is so 30% higher is about what, $50 or $60. That's what my best guess would be for a price prediction for Palantir, assuming again what the numbers are. But remember, all the numbers, the stock prices obviously are changing. People's expectations are changing, which is reflected in the price to sales ratio. And then, of course, the business reports once a quarter. And then people set their expectations based on what they've just reported. So if the next quarter, which is going to be September 30th quarter reported, probably, yeah, it'll be coming out, fairly soon. If it's 40 or 45%, could it trade for 50 times sales? It sure could. The multiple that happens is a function of our emotions, our excitement, and that is determined just by demand and supply in the short term. And certainly in the 1990s, et cetera, I mean, we had growth stocks trade for crazy multiples for several years at a time, where they just knocked out quarters of 30%, 40%, 50%, just, Could Palantir do that? Yeah, I mean, the fact that people are excited, I mean, professional investors are willing to pay 40 times, would say yes, but no guarantees in life. Yeah. David says DXYZ. Yeah, I don't know that stock, and so I was telling folks in our updates that in this cycle, where we are in a rising interest rate cycle, my general view is that I want to take less risk. I want to make investments with a higher likelihood, higher confidence, higher probability of making it, and generally sort of like shrink my time horizon a tiny little bit. So I'm less inclined to go for really speculative things. Anthony says 250 pounds. Yeah, 250 tons. That is correct. This is actually pretty heavy. Truthfully, it's made out of maybe stainless steel, just like the real thing. Okay. Shady said, excellent job on that coin option this week. I have to say, I told Dan, I was like, wow, like a $40 price for that stock, for that option. So we did a Coinbase option, and we put it on, I think, today's Tuesday. Maybe we put it on a couple of days ago. And it was $40. I'm like, no one will do this trade, because if you are buying one call, that would be, $4,000. But apparently someone did. So congratulations. Well done. We are actually going to use the leveraged Coinbase ETF from now on, just to try and get a lower price point so that more people can participate in the option trades, because there's probably not that many people that want to put $4,000 into one trade. That's my mom. Hey, Mom, how are you? Thanks for showing up. Sam asks, is Solana going to overtake ETH? Not in my opinion, but hey, I know there are some crazy bullish people on Solana, including Dean, who's on our team. I've not been a Solana bull at all. My view is sort of like formed by studying markets, which is that the folks that actually provide some utility and where all the action is the most likely one to both survive and thrive. If I look at Ethereum, I mean, there's legitimate, real platforms, protocols, representing activity businesses, Aave for lending, and Compound, and there's Maker, and I mean, I can point to 15 or 20 real businesses that produce fees, cash flows on Ethereum. I struggle to do that with Solana, but I could be wrong. So in my opinion, the answer to your question would be no, but maybe another speculative surge might take it higher. Rashad says, love the nonstop post this morning. Thanks for what you do. Well, when I saw that volatility this morning, I was, like sometimes, when I see volatility, I'm like, oh God, more pain to sit through. But this morning, I was like, this is good. This is good. This is exactly what I want to see around this time, which is crazy volatility. I mean, listen, folks, you could wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin will be at 70. You could, come month end, it's at 74, 75. And then, it gets the speculative juices flowing, right? Everybody then wants a piece of it, right? So then that supply shock starts to like have bigger and bigger impact. So good things are coming. Good things are coming. Agree with Coin. What ETFs? Well, I mean, all the ETFs are the same, right? I mean, the only let's do ETFs. Let's do the ETFs. $62.6 billion in ETFs, representing about 4.82% of current Bitcoin supply. There is no difference between one ETF and the other. The only difference, as you can see, is in the fees. As you can see in this fee column here, the BlackRock one is 0.25%. Our old friend GBTC has an insane 1.5% fee structure. Fidelity, where we have, where ATG has put its Bitcoin into, is 0.25%. But I mean, it really all depends on, what are you looking for? If you want to take a little bit more risk for more volatility, then MicroStrategy is probably right for you. If you want to play the cycle, the miners are right for you. The miners will definitely, like, if the last cycle is any indication, the miners will generate huge returns because they are levered in a big way, and they will benefit for sure. So yeah. Raul says, it's been a while since Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have not popped like yesterday. Any idea what happened? I actually put up a post, I think it was last week, talking about the fact that I thought that with the polls increasingly starting to swing both ways, and with election betting illegal in this country, let's see, maybe I can find it. I said that, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are probably the easiest ways to bet on the election, because should I try to get this? Yeah, I've been posting a great deal about Western North Carolina because, truthfully, the footage from Western North Carolina is just heartbreaking. It's our backyard, and I've just been totally brokenhearted and devastated by what's going on. But yeah, I don't see it, and I don't want to keep scrolling. So, but that's what, in my opinion, is going on. I mean, President Trump has laid out very clearly what he's going to do if he's elected with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They are going to release them. And I think Vice President Harris has said that they probably will continue the conservatorship. All the more recent polls are swinging Trump's way, and I think that is starting to be reflected as people go and bid Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac higher, because certainly in release form, these companies should be worth, I don't know, 30, 20, 30 times. I mean, if they were valued like regular companies like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, they'd trade at some multiple of their sales, some multiple of their earnings. And they do not. Right now, they trade illiquid on the over-the-counter exchange as some small little stub of equity that is still sitting out there. And that's what I believe is unfolding with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. What is my take on BITO? They have a huge dividend. We have done options on BITO, and BITO is a ETF that uses the underlying asset for the ETF is the Bitcoin futures. And so futures get rolled as the expiration happens. And so if they generate like a positive carry, they do generate a positive carry. It'll pay out a dividend, but that dividend is going to be variable relative to, I mean, without getting into a lot of things, relative to the carry rate, right? And so BITO is going to approximate over time with a slightly different pattern the long-term price trend of Bitcoin. The pattern will be different because futures prices can be a little bit more, a little bit less than Bitcoin. And so, it will not be one for one in real time, but over the long term, it would be something that tracked Bitcoin. And like you said, if you want to get paid a dividend, this may be one one way to bet on it. But I do believe that given that the futures have leverage, that it would also have greater volatility than underlying Bitcoin. Sam says, my take on SUI. I have no take. I have seen this on CoinMarketCap. My general view of crypto is that we have over how many? I mean, it is mind-boggling that we have this many crypto coins. Okay. This is we live in a crazy world. Yeah. I mean, we have 2.4 million coins, right? Yeah. I mean, I know people are desperate to want to go and find, the needle in a haystack. I am not. Uh, the most likely way to make money is going to be through some of the biggest uh, tokens that are out there that have an actual utility and purpose. In the short term, sure, there's all kind of speculative stuff that goes on. I know this is this, I think SUI is a fairly large coin. I've seen it here. Yeah, it's number 18 and it has a market cap of 5.7 billion, but I can't point to why it should exist or why whoever's on that blockchain couldn't be on any of the other ones. So I mean, at some point in time, there will be a brutal bear market that wipes out anyone that doesn't actually have some form of a business in their coin. So I have no opinion on SUI. My general view, again, like I said, is that from studying markets, which is that the biggest investments in any market tend to get the vast majority of the returns. Like 80% of the returns come from 20% of the investments. And those tend to be the biggest ones. And so that's where I'm focused on for the most part in terms of what we do at ATG Digital. Yeah, I mean, Wolfspeed this morning announced that they got money from the government, $750 million from the government, from the Inflation Reduction Act. And that was then matched by someone else that gave them, I think, either an equity infusion as well. So stocks popped up 30%. But the basic idea behind Wolfspeed is the idea that we are still quite early. And the reason I've gone back to my my X feed is this, which is that I was up last night prepping for I forgot, I'm so far down, prepping for this video. And of course, I was like, okay, and all this research. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Yeah, I mean, remember earlier this year and where they were telling us that that EV sales were in decline and it was a fad? Well, hey, they just hit a new record. Now represent 8.9% of total auto sales, which is a new record. So as I said, for a supposed fad, EV sales keep hitting new sales record. And I'll come back to Wolfspeed in a second. They also said nobody wanted the Cybertruck. Well, guess what? The Cybertruck is now the number 3 best-selling EV of any kind in the United States. Going back to Wolfspeed comes back to this. I mean, Wolfspeed is a company that specializes in making chips for EVs. So my view is that we are in the upsurge part of, like, we've gone through the first part of this S cycle, we've gone through the dip, and we're about to go through the biggest ramp. And so yeah, I mean, in a few years, if I'm right, yeah, I mean, EV sales are rocketing higher. Wolfspeed is running their chip factories at maximum. They're gushing with cash, and yeah, and the stock price just has rocketed through the old high, and we're making tons of money. So that's my view of that. Anthony says, I'm surprised you didn't give your opinion on the Tesla Robo taxi event. I think I was on Facebook on Friday. Yeah. And I had the event sort of running in the background. And so in my mind, I'm like, I've done this. I mean, I create so much content on a week-to-week basis between the paid ATG stuff, the free stuff, that sometimes it slips my mind. I mean, there wasn't like, I mean, I think I said this in the Facebook, which is that the most surprising thing as someone that is quite well informed about Tesla and Elon's intentions for robo taxis, and as a long-term user of full self-driving. I've had a Tesla since April of 2018. I've been a paid user of, I think it was called AutoSteer back then, or Autopilot. As a paid user of that, it has been obvious to me that this is going to be a big deal for them. They released their cyber cab. Some people are underwhelmed. Hey, everybody's entitled. But one thing is that their cyber cab, of course, looks cool. Elon doesn't like to put out, crap. And second, anyone that is using any version of full self-driving right now would be like, of course these cars are going to drive themselves. I mean, my car, the vast majority of the time now, I can just press a button. I just pull out of my driveway, and then I press the button with the destination and it takes me there. The number of interventions are just down to almost nothing. Increasingly, I've been thinking that I could just leave my, like have my daughter in the driver's seat, because any intervention, essentially, you would just intervene for a second and then you would put it back into self-driving, if at all. So we're at the 95, 98% mark. So this is an inevitability. But the surprising part was how much Optimus Robot has developed. That was a shocker. Its ability for gesture control, that was a bit shocking, that it could do that. Also, that they were willing to allow Optimus Robot to circulate among the guests. That takes a level of maturity in the technology platform. So that was truthfully for me the biggest surprise that came out from the I think it was the iRobot event. And it says, any reason why they didn't announce the much speculated Model 2? Yeah, they're working on. There's no company working on so much. So they're scaling up Cybertruck. They clearly, obviously, had a choice between scale up Model 2 or scale up for Cybercab, and I think that they've made the right decision, which is Cybercab is a better, bigger business than Model 2. The Cybercab, Elon has said in his book that he's like, at least for the transportation part of Tesla's business, this is the thing that takes us to 10 trillion, because it just collapses the cost of personal transportation, where it's for public transportation, it's about $1, I think, per mile, to use a public transport. A cybercab would take it to on a cost basis to 20 cents. With taxes and anything else, it might be about 35, 40 cents. It would still, to cut the cost down of personal transportation by half. Globally scalable business, yeah, that's a better business priority and higher business priority than the Model 2. And so they only have this much capacity. They've got in Nevada, Giga Texas. They got the one in Shanghai, in Berlin. They would need to probably put up even more, because the Model 2, if you're going to put that up, you have to be betting on huge volume, and you probably need a dedicated factory for that. I was thinking of selling calls against my shares. Your question was earlier, Shelley. Yeah, we do not do that. I know there are many people that do covered call programs, and I have done this in the past. But if my view has been that Palantir is one of the AI investments to have for the foreseeable future. If you take that view, then and if you keep enough money in your account and take care of things, of all the dynamics of call selling, etc., which is it could be called away. Maybe you want to own the stock, and all these complications, which I've never wanted to deal with. It's certainly something that you could do, but just remember, anything to do with any kind of trading, obviously you have to, there's the fees, there's the potential for losses, there's the potential for indecision, wrong decisions, etc. So all things to consider and go into it. I think 6 to 12 months. I mean, 40 times sales is a lot. So I mean, they would need to up their forecast by some. I mean, so I mean, at 40 times sales, people are sort of starting to impute at least 35% growth into next year, if not more. So they would need to up their forecast to where like, hey, we can get to 40 or 42 or 45 for them to maintain that multiple of 40. And remember, growth stocks are dangerous for this reason, right? I mean, 40 times sales is crazy high, right? So if they disappoint next quarter, I mean, that multiple will go down to 30 on a lower number. And, so just remember this psychologically. We all tend to be optimistic at high prices and pessimistic at low prices, right? So, I mean, most people wouldn't be like, how high is everything going to go when prices were low? When Palantir was at what, 9, 2 years ago? Yeah, I mean, there's no excitement. So, I mean, my view is follow the rules of the game, sell on the way up. There's always ups, there's always downs. Some of the downs are big, just like, some of the ups are big. And you shouldn't just think that like, it can only go up. I mean, there is going to be a lot of variation, right? 40 times sales is a big number. The expectations are high. I'll just put that out there. I didn't, and it's not something that we do. So I mean, but I'm sure a lot of people are playing that game. You're welcome, sir. Nitin says, do you think that STEM still and OPTT still has a chance? Yes. I'm going to say that OPTT is up, I think, in our portfolio. I'm just checking. OPTT. Yeah, I mean, OPTT, by our records, we're up 10%. So have a chance? Yeah, definitely. STEM, on the other hand, I mean, I have the same answer. They are finally, I saw a press release from them saying that they're finally cutting costs, shrinking down their focus to what they're good at, which is about their software. So they have to, go. They truthfully should have done this last year when other growth companies were doing the same thing, which is what? Cutting costs, paring down, like, all these other side projects that made sense in a world where you had zero interest rates, and really focusing down on, their core business. It's a year later, which is why the stocks, just been, destroyed, but they're finally there. It seems like they have enough cash, at least to get through some part of this period. They're probably going to need a little bit more cash. My best guess is, yes, I mean, from current prices, yeah, they still have a chance. They still have like a great piece of software, and the underlying business is a good one of coordinating distribution energy resources. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. You're welcome, Shelly. And another thank you. All right. Wow, we have gone 1 hour and 13 minutes into this live stream. Thank you all for attending. I want to say crypto, Bitcoin, high conviction for me, high conviction right now. Like, this is timely. I said this earlier when I was talking about Palantir. People ask me about the stuff that's high, right? Because the excitement is high. We are creatures of our emotions, right? We're all in at high prices and we're all out at low prices. Crypto is not at all-time lows, but it's on the way up. I've done enough work that I have very high confidence. I mean, we've stuck all the ATG digital. We've done what MicroStrategy is doing, and truthfully, a number of other companies. We put our reserves there. Why? Because, like, hey, everything points to us being right. And I mean, truthfully, I think I'd rather have my money in Bitcoin than in USD. I mean, we keep enough, and I have, to pay the expenses, etc. But high conviction, big money. I like it. Thank you all for attending this live stream. We'll be back next Tuesday. And if you're looking for subscriptions and ideas on what's going to go up, what's going to do well in this, I think, this incredible crypto cycle, atgdigital.media, silver tier, diamond tier, gold tier. Thank you and goodbye.